All right. Well, let's see if this comes up. All right, there we go. Hello, everyone. Yeah, welcome to another episode of Getting a Bit Better. I'm Bitters. If you didn't know that, probably do. But yeah. Um, Real quick in chat, Master Jasper has a quick question. Says, "Yo, any way you could just give a quick rundown of what the ideal BM Hunter traits are for running Mythic Plus?" So there are kind of two different builds. I guess just for BM in general, like the other build is kind of common. If you go with Dance of Death and stack crit, let's see something with Dance of Death real quick. Okay, all right. There we go. Dance of Death is Barb Shot has a chance equal to your crit to grant you blah 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 agility for 8 seconds. So that's like one build that people use for either raiding or Mythic Plus. Um, And if you go with that, you still want to have, like, you can use, as many Dance of Death as you get, but you still want to have at least one rapid reload. That's one of the biggest traits for BM DPS in Mythic Plus and AoE in general. And also Primal Instincts, having at least one of those so that it gives you the on-demand burst for like any larger packs. Personally, for Mythic Plus, I go the route of, well, AoE in general, the route of stacking Mastery, and don't go with Dance of Death. Um, Mastery makes my overall, like, AoE damage higher, but it makes my single target a little bit lower instead of going the crit route. Um, Slightly, though, like, simming it, it's a very, very small difference, like 50 DPS loss or something single target compared to, like, a couple hundred in AoE, going Mastery instead of crit. Um, so personally, what I'm running right now, I think is probably the best. Having 3 Primal Instincts, 1 Rapid Reload. Um, I would say those are what you would want to aim for. The other two traits are kind of optional. Feeding Frenzy is nice just for um, making the rotation a little easier. Just like keeping up your frenzy stacks in between packs and that sort of stuff. So that would probably be my next pick after. So definitely 1 Primal Instinct and 1 Rapid Reload. Then as many more Primal Instincts as you can get. Then a Feeding Frenzy if you can get it. If not, that's not a big deal. And then after that, any other DPS trait is fine. Haze of Rage, Treacherous Covenant is good too for damage, but you do have like the small survivability loss on it. Probably I would say more so in Mythic Plus than in raiding. Um, so yeah, like I said, the setup that I have right now, I'm really happy with. Um, and then I guess third tier traits, overwhelming power would be the best. After that, whatchamacallit, unstable flames, um, still really good as well. Heed My Call is pretty good as well, but it has a really small range, and you don't always, like, unless you're running with like a DK tank, you don't always have like those mobs stacked well enough to take advantage of that. To take advantage of like that 3 yard splash. Um, Also, then I guess for the inner trait, like the utility survivability traits, having 1 Duck and Cover is really nice because it lowers the cooldown on Feign Death, as you would know. And in Mythic Plus, that's particularly useful for any of the abilities that you can like avoid using it. So like on the last boss in Tolbarad, being able to like feign death the dead shots, or sorry, Toldagor, feign deathing the dead shots. In Shrine of the Storm, you can feign death like on the first boss, like the grasping, whatever root, like the root thing that goes on you. There's a lot of things that, in particular, like for Deadshot, if you have the 30-second cooldown, you can't quite get all of them. But with 25 seconds, if you feign like right away in the first one, then it should be back up like right before the end of the second one. Like if you say if you were to get targeted twice in a row, you can get two in a row, two feigns in a row, and then you wouldn't be able to get a third. Like if you had a third one back to back, your feign death wouldn't be on cooldown, but you could turtle that one at least. All right, and yeah, you are very welcome. I just wanted to say thanks to I don't know how to FPS and Primal, wait, Primal my Milk, Primal. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but thank you very much for following. All right, let's see what else we had in chat. Raptors. Oh, going with Hunter. Yeah, it's really fun in Mythic Plus. I saw a clip of Bunton on her Ret Pally doing like 500k. I was kind of jealous about that. But see, like the difference is like she did like 500k on one pack, like as a BM on a pack that big. I don't know that I would hit 500k. I'd probably hit 300k, but I could do that like 3 packs in a row because it would reset all my cooldowns every single time. So like you can do big packs in a row like nonstop. What's my JC ring? I actually don't have ideal stats on my JC ring, and I've considered re-rolling it. Right now it's heavy haste, low crit. So like I've looked at like the difference in simming it. Like if I were to re-roll it for like mastery haste or something like that, which would probably be what I would go for. And it's a really small difference. It's probably just the overall balancing of stats. Like on my gear, it just ends up being that currently having these stats and this balance makes it a very small margin. Like it was within like 10 to 15 DPS, which isn't really worth like I don't know, it's like 15k or something like that to reroll. And it's not even really like the gold. I have tons of the mats from like my jewel crafting daily thing, so that's not really a big deal. It's just not really worth re-rolling when it's going to be replaced very soon anyway. All right. Are you able to figure? Alpha Shah asks, are you able to figure out how one would do better in Mythic Plus 2 in terms of DPS, other than just raid? Um, so in Mythic Plus, like I think one of the biggest things that I don't see people doing for like their AoE DPS is, as BM at least, um, making like you really need to prioritize casting multi-shot like really high up there, like more than like on 4 targets. Like I still prioritize it over kill command. Um, Now once you start like killing off mobs, like when they're really low health, then I still like switch targets so that like any of my single target like auto shotting and any of that sort of stuff is going into the higher health mobs to try and keep that like should try and get as much as I can out of my multi shots for as long as I can. So like ideally the longer I can hit 4 targets or obviously more, 3 targets or more, the better for getting more resets on like more cooldown reduction on Aspect of the Wild. So like there's a lot of times I don't end up even like using a kill command unless I have um like unless there's like a significant like priority mob that needs to die or something like that. I don't end up using a kill command until there are 3 mobs left and the third mob is like sub 10% health. Then I might just switch to kill command then, like in expectation of maybe the mob dying, because you never want to. Well, I mean, you do, but you don't want to multi-shot when you don't need to when there aren't 3 targets. Obviously, you just want to have a Beast Cleave. So that's every third GCD should be multi-shot when there's only 2 targets. Even at 3 targets, kill command technically has priority, but that's kind of you have to kind of go by feel there. It depends on like how much cooldown is left on like your next Aspect of the Wild, and you also have to like think about the next time you're going to be using it, because like if you have like another pack before and you're going to hold Aspect of the Wild anyway, you don't have to worry about getting as many multi-shots as you can to like keep lowering the cooldown. Um, you can, do more kill commands and that sort of stuff. And in relation to that, using your cooldowns more, like don't save your cooldowns necessarily for bosses unless it's, like a boss that your group might particularly have trouble with. Like, use your cooldowns as often as possible. Like, sometimes I'll like use Aspect of the Wild when it's like a 2 mob pack or something like that, just because otherwise I know I'll end up holding it for like 30 seconds, and it's generally not worth doing that. Yeah, I love mobility of Hunter. And like, I guess I just like mobility classes in general because like my melee DPS was a Havoc Demon Hunter, my healer was a Resto Druid, and then my tank is a Prot Warrior. So like, I just like the high mobility classes. Um, the thing that shows my traits up here, and all this, well, it actually shows my talents and my traits. Or do you mean like on the actual like tooltip? Because this one's a weak aura, but yeah, this one is an add-on. The one on the tooltip is, I think that's Azerite tooltip. Yeah, it's the add-on Azerite tooltip, and it's the option down here. I don't know if it's on by default or not, but show traits and character frame. Yeah, I'd have to reload, but here you can quickly see the difference. That gets rid of the little tooltip things. Yeah, sorry, so that's the one on the character page. Nothing important. Any other, I guess, hunter-specific questions? If not, I will jump into the next thing. Going to kill Jaina this week. Tired of looking. Yes, I am very tired of looking at Jaina, and I know we have a couple people like taking like breaks or needing to be out, like after this week. I think. See, I think we have everyone. Maybe Tuesday. I think Wednesday, like one of our healers is out XO. And then the following week, I know that's the last week that all wants to worry about like re-clearing and progression and stuff. And I think Rue might be gone starting then for like the next, I think he's gone for like 2 or 3 weeks on like family vacation. And that'll be kind of annoying because he's like our stack point in phase 1. So people would have to get used to different positioning.
And which
But yeah, I'm hoping we kill Jaina. I know we definitely can. Like we've had like the 13% pulls and stuff, and I looked at like our DPS, and it did look low, but when I cut it off at like the point where people actually start dying, like their overall DPS for phase 3 looks like most people look like 23k or something like that, but when you cut it off to where they're dying, it's, more like 27k, which is, about where people need to be. I think we'll, like, with everyone alive, we'll definitely make it, still with the 5 healers. And, like, I looked at the overall, I can pull it up, actually. While I'm flying. Let's see, single browser. Alright, I looked at, like, the overall, number of, like, 4 healed versus 5 healed kills that have been, like, since the patch. Or hotfix, I guess, not patch. All bosses, Jaina. Switch this to progress. Alright, I'm gonna filter this. The patch was the 14th, so I'm just gonna look for kills after the 14th. And no later than, here, tomorrow. That's good enough. And then, like, if I put in 4 healers. Now, see, this is going to start showing in order, because it's set by progress. Like, any of the kills would happen on the 14th and on. 195 kills. 4 healed. And 5 healed. I think there's like 160 or something like that. 133. So it is slightly more common to 4 heal right now, but I mean, we've done all of our progression with 5, so we'll probably end up just sticking with it. Like, if we did need to switch something, it would probably be switching uniques to going back to the DPS traits. I think right now we have them switching to the healing traits. But like I said, with everyone alive, I don't think we're gonna have a DPS issue. Anyway, let's look at one of these kills. Let's see what our average item level is. All right, we're like basically 416. 415, 416, basically all of these. And we're going to be like a 9-something kill. Sure. Let's look at intent. Alright, so unfortunately, actually, let's see if this has been fixed. Oh, it actually has been fixed. Alright, this was literally just in the past few days fixed. Like 5 days ago, this wasn't working to see phase 3 in Mythic. But yeah, now you can actually look at Mythic. However, I wonder if... Alright, so when I was looking at it, I was looking at when Arcane Barrage is interrupted. Or, sorry, not Arcane Barrage is interrupted. I was looking at when the Arcane Barrage buff falls off of Jaina, and I was, like, calculating DPS from that point. So I was going to Enemies, clicking on Jaina, going to her buffs, going to Arcane Barrage. Alright, so... yeah, it looks like that's probably what they calculate this onto here. So 810, 579. 810, yeah, that's like basically they're going by the interrupt that interrupts Jaina, the first event that they use to trigger phase 3. That's actually kind of strange that they do that, because if the buff just falls off, I wonder if that breaks it. Like if you just let her cast timeout. But yeah, if not, you could just go by just the Arcane Barrage debuff when it fades off. But regardless, the DPS here should be accurate then. So if you look at like damage done, let's compare this to like one of our pools. All right, so compare. Compare with URL. Now I need to pull our URL from our attempt. Copy and paste it there. Oh, wait. I had a slash in there. Alright, so I'm going to compare their kill to our attempts. Either 29 or 25, both were our 2 long pulls. Well, I guess I'll look at 29 right now. And then I just want to look at phase 3. Alright, so this is like a comparison for the DPS. Now, actually, this would not be as good of a pull out of the two because we had a lot more people dead on this pull. So let me pull up pull 25. Wait a second. Oh my god, I didn't even realize Zerhouse is still using a heroic Gavolt Vigor trinket. Like, oh my god. I hate that trinket in the first place. Nice, you got a 400 dice. Definitely an upgrade. I was just messaging Zerhoff. Alright. Why didn't this pull up correctly? Let's see. I think this is exactly what I was talking about with... No, because I think we interrupted. Maybe it's just it wasn't in... I wonder if I can re-upload this log. Alright, if I re-export it, I wonder if it'll work. Alright, because it's not letting me compare because it's not seeing the phase 3 and the logs from our attempts. One time we did, one time we did not. But I don't know if you're listening to my stream, but I just explained that. Alright. Alright, yeah, now it's showing. I think it might have a different URL now. Not sure. Alright, let me just back up. Try this again. Alright. So this is showing wipe 29. This pool does not have it. If I go to all phases, is where I need to check. This page. So that's when Arcane Barrage fades. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna let me do it because I think it looks like Warcraft Logs did exactly what I thought. It has the exact issue that I thought might happen. If they're going by the interrupt that interrupts Jaina, it doesn't trigger phase 3 for splitting the logs. So I'm gonna actually message Kira in Discord and trying to get him to change that so that that works correctly. But anyway, I can actually look at the damage just independently. So that point. Damage done by friendlies. Alright, so this was our DPS. This is our DPS on attempt 20 on our wipe number 25. And well, this is the same thing, but this was their kill and our wipe 29. Yeah, that's right. Alright, so yeah, like if you look at total DPS, like they're at 357. Obviously we're at like 286 here, 262 here, but like we have a lot of people dead as well. Particularly on this one, we had several people dead going into that phase, and even on this one we had quite a few people get frozen. Like you can see like the DPS drop off here. So like, yeah, a lot of people started dying at this point. But looking at the actual like damage contribution during that phase, like roughly a little bit over 2 million DPS. We have, you know, quite a few people doing that before dying. Zoom in on this a bit. All right. Oh, yeah, for the dice, that was Zerhas that just got that, who finally got like an upgrade for her trinket, which she had been using since like our initial like progression. She had never gotten a dice like on any of her character, like any 400 item level 1. So she's had horrible trinkets the whole time. For basically all our like Battle of Dazar'alor progression. I don't think no dice or feather. I think her other trinket is, let's see. Go. Yeah, 410 socketed Azuruk's Resonating Heart, which again isn't like the greatest trinket, but it's actually not that bad. Pretty decent. Having an unused trinket now, though, would definitely still be very beneficial. But the Vigor trinket is not like a good definition of an unused trinket that is gonna give like a lot of burst. But for overall damage, like it's not that big of a deal. But for like Mythic Plus or something, a Gale Callers or a Feather or something like that would be better. Or the PvP trinkets. Alright, so another question that I had here. So this is one I needed to get to specifically for tonight. Zia Shaman had messaged me and asked, can I get a quick check on my DPS from you? I feel like I should be doing more damage, but I'm not seeing where it's missing. I think it's probably from my super low level Azurite, but maybe there's some secret sauce I'm missing. Alright, so I had already talked to Zia a bit about this, but I was going to go over a bit more. Alright, let's... Alright, so I think, who were we comparing with? I think with Lume from, I think from Propaganda, I think he was from. But he was comparing with another shaman, and I had mentioned that he was mentioning that his like lightning bolts, well, or not lightning bolts, like, well, everything really, but his, I think he was saying like his lava bursts were hitting for like 6k higher on average. Yeah, like he was saying his average like 28k. Zia's were like 28k, and the other shaman was like 34k. So I looked through to try and figure out like maybe like what it is that's causing that. Let's see. Alright, so like one thing that I noticed straight away is like that they're playing slightly different builds. Looking at Zia's actually playing the more common build with Ice Fury. Lume's playing Primal Elementalist, so like their overall casts are going to be slightly different. Gearing wise, they're also geared slightly different. So I noticed Zia, he has the verse gems, but his enchants were crit enchants for his rings, whereas most shamans that I've seen actually are going straight verse. So I mean that could be a small difference, but for that I know Zia does a lot of simming himself. But I had him give me his info, just so I can see. Oops. Wasn't that one? There we go. Alright, I had him use the SimCraft add-on to paste his, you know, his gear and all that sort of stuff, just so I can plug it into Raybots on stream and see if we can figure out anything that is at all better. Oh, it looks like he actually did get an upgrade from what he was using before. I saw that he used to have like I think it was like a 390 helm or something that he had. Maybe it was actually these shoulders. Yeah, right here. He had the 390 shoulders. Um, yeah, looks like he did end up replacing those. Yeah, because he's using Natural Harmony inside the pack now, and before he's using Triple Igneous potential. But let's, I guess, just add it on and see how things show up. Just because we have room for some extra items. Or, I guess, extra iterations, I should say, of simming. No, Echo is not recommended anymore. Alright, alright, that should be better. I'm just gonna try and eyeball some of the other gear. Just because we're getting close to, yeah, the item cap. Socket, it'll be better. That one I'm not positive on. Probably should end up being better though. I'm just not sure how often he's above 90% health. Let's go ahead and look at one of these pulls real quick. He's dead there. Resources for Zia Shaman. Hit points. Alright, so yeah, like, he has the gloves on, which is going to give him the crit, but that 90% buff is going to be inactive, at the moment at least, quite a bit of the time. Like the extra damage proc. So it might end up being better doing something else. Using different gloves. Rings are probably good. Trinkets. Alright, so I'm just going to start off with this. And I am just going to sing it on sim on single target because that's going to be what's relevant. And then I'm also going to only sim for 1 minute and 30 seconds because that's going to be what's relevant for us for phase 3. That's pretty much like your DPS window in phase 3. Oh, and actually no bloodlust. That's also important. Alright, so yeah, one boss, 1 minute and 30. All the other buffs. Yeah, okay. So let's see how this looks. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Hmm. Alright, as soon as this goes, then I can do the other sims a little bit faster. But I just want this first one to go through. Alright, while that goes, just gonna grab my gem for my daily real quick. Or gems. Switch back to this. And yep, currently equipped gear is top. So let's see what his clothes. Yeah, shoulders are. Yeah, the 390 shoulders are actually head. What does he have on right now? Let's see. It's the only difference here was Blood Siphon, which is super minor, versus Earthlink. The chest. Alright, so this one is a little bit more questionable. Alright, so basically switching the chest. Alright, so it does lose Igneous potential, which is, you know, pretty significant to Shaman DPS, but a 0.2 loss, but it's gaining 15 item levels for Stam, so it could help with the survivability in the last phase. Possible, but and this is using a combination of the two. But yeah, that is simming the highest at the moment. I am going to do this, copy it over. What's it? Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna copy all this in and erase this back to like the defaults that were actually being used. But I am going to put in those two other alternatives that are kind of close. Was the change on using the different chest, and well, I'm not. I guess I'll sim the Blood Siphon difference, but again, I know it's super minor. Alright, but now I'm going to check enchants. We have enough room on here to check a lot. First. Alright, so we got crit, verse, echo. Alright. This is basically just checking crit and verse gems and enchants and torrent of elements. And gonna again do the same thing, just the minute 30 sim. Yeah, I just looked and saw the like the at least what you're wearing right now, and did see that it was different. But yeah, if you have an updated SimCraft, I can use that and copy it from like what you're actually wearing. Yeah, I know you're simming like a ton of stuff, or like enhancement too. Okay, Google Doc after update. All right, I see it. Thank you. So I will actually just throw another sim going at the same time. I think everything else I had on. Yeah, I think everything else is still updated in the sim that I ran. I'll double check though, just yeah, they're close. Don't need that. No, put it on whatever. Guess not. Chance. See, these gloves, I'm thinking these are going to end up being better, but I'll check in the sim. Yeah, the sliver, yeah, that definitely wouldn't be usable for Jaina with like all the stacking needed. So yeah, with the gloves, what I was mentioning is, I think overall DPS it should be better, but I don't know that like just looking for example like where is it? This was like your health in the last phase, on this pull, and 90% is going to be like right here. So like any point after this, it's going to be dropped. Like anything lower than this, so it'll be up for a good chunk of the beginning. I mean, I could check and see what the actual uptime of this is and sim it with that. But you know, if I can sim it at like 50% uptime or something like that and see what it actually shows up with. Because I don't know what percent the gloves sim with by default now. I know initially when they like implemented all the Crucible gear was all simmed with 100% uptime by default, and you had to like customize it. You can see what it shows up with. Alright, 28074. So this is suggesting like switching to one verse enchant, but it's so close overall. Makes me wonder if just doing the double verse enchants. Because like here, alright, so what else did they change? So switching Blood Siphon in, I think, on the shoulders only. Yeah, so like, if you went double verse enchant and Blood Siphon, like your overall DPS stayed the same on this sim, but you have more verse, so it's going to be extra survivability in the last phase. Slightly. I think just in general, though, even like if you didn't change the Blood Siphon and kept like the ear flank, it might still be better to do double verse ring enchants. Just because, you know, that small amount of survivability could still be the difference of surviving like an extra tick of Chilling Touch. Let's do another sim here. Just going to look at that. I'm just adding in on but yeah, it's still pulling Gaping Maw. Gaping Maw shoulders being higher. But obviously, that's not going to be better if you are dead. So that's another thing to take into account. Alright, so I'm just going to compare basically between the two shoulders and going to verse enchants. And gems, I guess. Yeah. Oh, actually, wait a second. I want to cancel this. Shoulders. I wanted to check that other pair of gloves as well. Alright, that's everything. For what days are you gonna be gone? When are you gone again? Like, so like the 8th or something? I mean, to be fair, I do know some people in our raid that do pretty much just equip their highest item level gear. I won't name any names, but there are some that go by that ideology that the highest item level will make them better. But June 11th. Okay. So yeah, if we don't kill it this week, we have next week. But hopefully we kill it this week because it'll be very disappointing to uh, have like those, 13% pulls and then not kill it for another 2 weeks. I know doesn't really plan on it, but I would still like to do like the Crucible bosses. Maybe not Unat, but at least like Rustless Cabal. I don't think we'd have time to progress on both bosses. Alright, so currently equipped is top. Why did this go down so much? I think I forgot to sim one of the traits in the shoulders. Oh, that's what happened. Alright, slightly over the item count. Try that one more time. But yeah, I was expecting something like 28k, or something over 28k, and it was going under. Just so I could see the difference there. But yeah, I know Igneous Potential is like the number one trait, and that's what makes like the 390s like competitive, the 420. Yeah, I just have, I think, like, was it rare or whatever, like the lowest, basically the lowest, the tier that shortcuts you some, like the $3 tier. Yeah. Yeah, see, like, you do it all in one sim, I'll just have like 8 tabs open, like running a whole bunch of sims at the same time or something. But yeah, it would be easier if, the item limit was higher. But they did increase it from, I think they increased to like 30% or something like that a few months ago, which was nice. Alright, so let's just go in here real quick. Alright, one thing that I had mentioned to Zia, let's go to one of his logs real quick. here, like if you look at intellect, he's like 12.6. Zia was like 10.6 basically, so it's like a 2K difference, which I it's probably a bunch of that is the um, the different level of shoulders, you know, basically 30 item levels on like a shoulder piece is quite a bit of int. He's also using, I think, 2 Treacherous Covenant, if I remember right. Yeah, 2 Treacherous Covenant, so it's a lot more base stats. I'm not sure when. I think the stats number is actually pulled on pull. I think. See if I reset zoom and go at the beginning of the fight if it changes. No, all right, yeah, that is based on pull. So Zia actually would have been even 100 lower than this when his food, like, because he had died before phase 3. So his he would have lost his food buff as well. So it would have been a little bit lower than that. The difference in trinkets also. He has 2 static int trinkets. Versus he is using the Alchemist Stone, which has verse as well. And then the other thing that I mentioned is the set bonus. He has the 2-piece from the ring and cloak, whereas Zia does not. So it's another 150 int. And then obviously, like, they're just average item level in general. 410 versus 416 was a bit as well. But yeah, the average on, I was just trying to explain the why the int number was so much higher. So let's look at his actual health in phase 3. So treacherous, you have to be above 50% health for it to proc, which he's above 50% almost all of phase 3. He has very high uptime on the buff. Yeah, basically 95% uptime even in phase 3. Whereas if he were using those gloves though, 90%, he would have only had like 15% uptime or something like that. Alright, Ru. Yeah, you go Treacherous Covenant. Have fun with that. We do have stellar healers, alright? I like our healers. I wonder what, look at their full raid count. What did we have to? Yeah, we did have a disc. What is... Okay, Mist. We had a disc instead of Mistweaver in comparison on the kill. Or compared to their kill to our... that our net of attempts there. What I was curious about is when they actually used Spirit Link. That was pretty early. Wait, no, not early. Okay. Let's say, wait a second. That's yeah. This is just looking at the last phase. Link, hide. Yeah, see, I was looking at like our healers, our cooldown setup for our healers. Let's see if I can pull that up. Alright, this is what we have set up, and like I definitely think our link should be way later. Because I think, I don't know, I think that's like the strongest, I mean, it really is like one of the strongest raid cooldowns. If not the strongest to be stacked with other things. And like we're using it like really early. Like at 8 minutes we would have. Alright, well, first of all, this timing I think is a bit off, but I know this is just, you know, kind of an idea. But like when we get our first orb, let's see. Jaina casts her first orb. At, at 8:10. So we're using like, or we have a link assigned like at 8:10 instead of 9:05. I definitely think it should be at the second one. I don't know when he's using his other link though. So look at that. Assigned first ordinance. So that's like when we get out of the intermission phase, which is a good, you know, we're taking a ton of damage there. But I feel like we could be using it still here. I just don't know if he's actually using it somewhere else in between here. Which I guess I can check and see. I don't know. See, yeah, he ended up using his link at 9 minutes anyway. That was the only time he used it all fight, though. Yeah, he missed the earlier use, probably holding it, but... Let's see... 29. So this is different pool, but... again, only one use. Got all phases. Yeah, he definitely should be using it earlier in the fight at some point. Yeah, you could get 3 off, but like phase 1 I can see, you know, we don't really need it in phase 1. There's no point where, I guess like if we had like a bad bombardment, or not bombard, but like a bad avalanche dropped like right on range or something like that, maybe using it then, but I know he's using, Unix is out doing, you know, cannons and layer ballistas and tons of other stuff, but I don't really care about like the phase 1 use, but he should definitely have a use of it in phase 2 somewhere. Let's see. Oh, this is only set to phase 3 here though. So this is 3. Intermission. Yeah, yeah, it's basically like right where, right when they get out of their intermission, is roughly when they're using it. Cast Spirit Link, dies from Glacial Ray. So yeah, this is like right before the Glacial Ray, at the end of that phase. So yeah, they're using it at the intermission and at the second orb. Which, I mean, I haven't looked through a ton of logs just to check, but that seems like the times it should be. But yeah, we definitely have been having people die at this point in the fight too. I mean, it's really common for us to have had people die like when we're stacking up there. I mean, I know a lot of them are to like getting hit by orbs, but Link would help make all the other cooldowns that are happening at that point a lot more effective. Which, let's see what we have assigned there. I don't know. I guess just Bunton's wings is the only other thing assigned there. Guess kind of also like VE and Rapture. Flourish, I guess that's all kind of like that first ordnance area. Basically, like all that stuff should be being used to like keep us alive there. Because like all the damage happens for that first ordnance, and then like going to the second one, it doesn't get nearly as bad. What gear is the best for Xurhas? Alright, I'll look at that in just a second. Just out of curiosity, let's see when he used his tides. Alright, so 520, that's around like, that's right before third barrel. Well, let's see if that's when he's assigned to doing it, and then like 840. Yeah, but he's doing this one around that time. A little bit before the orb, which is fine. And yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah, that's basically, yeah, so that's going off right. He's just missing that spirit link. I think it should be used at the, like right before we break the first barrel. And then I think this link should be basically like with the healing tide or like just after the healing tide. Right when we're about to get to that second orb. I'll look at raid health, but I think we're pretty stable around this point, like around the 8-minute mark. Let's see. Yeah, so like, this was about when like Jaina cast her first orb, like 8, 10, somewhere around this area. But yeah, like the raid's health is like fine. Like it doesn't even start dipping to like 840. The Bunton. I don't know if this is how everyone's health is. Let's look at my own. What was this damage from? Is it all just chilling touch? I think one of them. Oops. Something in here has to be the orb. Damage taken. Yeah, like the Orb of Frost, like 32k, it's basically nothing. Broadside is a little bit burst, but aside from that, it's like basically all chilling touch damage. So like all the raid healing is just based on chilling touch. Let's look at the whole raid. Damage. So I'm looking at damage taken, and I'm going to switch this to taken from ability. So it's going to show what the raid is actually taking damage from. I'm going to switch over to here because I don't want to look at it in the comparison. We pushed like around here, basically. Alright, so this is about phase 3. Where our damage, like the sources of our damage. So Ice Shard, that's obviously just the tank. siege breaker while that is hitting the raid, like a big chunk of that is just on the person that's getting hit by it. Actually had siege breaker. Was it me? And it was their house. Alright, so yeah, that. So the siege breaker, we're gonna want something for that probably. And I think the Orbit Frost is like nothing though. At 35k, like an average tick of Chilling Touch around this point. Let's see. Yeah, an average Chilling Touch tick is about like 35k. So yeah, if I were to make suggestions, I would say like adjusting like the phase 3 cooldowns, like something to maybe near the start to like stabilize um, like the transition, like in case people still have like Heart of Frost on them, or like in case people got hit by the arcane barrages and stuff like while we're stacking up. So something smaller there to stabilize, like maybe just the flourish is fine there, and then uh, something um, something more damage reduction related to prevent like the spike specifically for the Siegebreaker Blast. So like right then, I don't know if we want to do like barrier there or something, because we'd all be stacked up for it. So like something like barrier would work fine right then. So something to help mitigate like the Siegebreaker Blast going out, and then could have like an output, like a throughput cooldown there as well to help recover from that. And then basically everything else should be stacked, like counting down like backwards from Orb of Frost 2 hitting. Which I guess you could even time by stacks, possibly. I guess someone might do it incorrectly, like based on their stacks there. Let's see when Siegebreaker 2 hits. Alright. Alright, so... Siegebreaker Blast. Siegebreaker doesn't even hit till like 9-minute mark. When does Orb of Frost? Yeah, that's like the first spike. So yeah, it's really that Siegebreaker Blast. That's like when we're gonna start needing to chain everything. Let's see how much total damage I take in the last phase up until Siegebreaker Blast. Because I know I was alive for the whole time. Alright, 800k. So that's like 3 times my health pool total over roughly a minute. Let's go from 802 to 902. Alright, yeah, 750k over a minute. Let's look at the whole raid. quite work because this has the tank damage in it as well. Alright, so excluding like the 30k HPS, or I guess the TPS from like the tank damage. So there's other things in here that people shouldn't be getting hit by. I guess they're kind of irrelevant. Like the frozen solid doesn't really matter because it's only a few ticks, but like Zia was dead then. The lance, Fell Shade shouldn't have been hit by that. So let's say, and then basically the big thing is taking out like the tank damage. So for like raid healing, it's roughly like 300 or 250k damage taken per second over a minute. So like splitting that up between 5 healers, you know, that would be like 50k healing per second. It still doesn't seem right. So the healing required was 215k. I mean, I guess that's roughly what we had, though. Like, we had the healing there. Like, even including the take damage, like the external healing needed was 215k. I mean, let's look at just raw damage. Yeah, we seem on pace with healing up until the 90-minute mark. And then with the siege breakers when we seem to be losing people. I don't know if I can think of an example where we had our siege breaker like super far away. I want to look how much damage they took from siege breaker though. Your last phase siege breaker, that is. Still pretty close. Like 85k, 85, 90k on most people. Yeah, still roughly the same. I was just wondering if, like, how much damage would be cut off by just sacrificing that person, just having them go like far away. Because if you think about like, yeah, we're gonna lose them, but like, how much more damage are they gonna be able to contribute in that last 30 seconds? Like most people have already used up like all their DPS cooldowns by that point. So it's like whatever DPS basically you're gonna do in the last 30 seconds of the fight, or you know, some people might have cooldowns come back up. This isn't really a good way to be able to tell because like a lot of people were getting frozen or like dying at this point. Try and look on their kill. Still, you know, roughly like half a million damage. But again, still, I don't think it would be an issue as long as we have like, you know, enough cooldowns at that point to survive, because that's really where we're gonna take like all the damage. Well, I guess the burstiest damage is that point. I want to see how close between Siegebreaker hitting and the Orb of Frost hitting. Oh, Siegebreaker Blast, there. Frost, there. Filter it to just these two, and look at events. So I can actually see the, like, to the second when these are hitting. So it's like that 906, 910. Yeah, like a single cooldown is going to cover both of those spots anyway. So like we just need to make sure we have whatever going up like right before the Siegebreaker hits, because that will also cover the Orb of Frost. As long as it's, you know, like any of the mitigation cooldowns. So like if we're in a barrier or something and it's dropped like right before Siegebreaker, there's that 5 seconds in between. Actually, let's see how close that actually is. No, not even 5 seconds. 3.4 seconds. Or 3.5 seconds, basically. Yeah, so between 3.5 seconds, like the raid took... Alright, we took, see, all abilities. Yeah, it's 231k between Chilling Touch, Siegebreaker, Orb of Frost at that point. Why did Orb of Frost not do that much to me? That I am not sure about. See, I was looking at like the total damage done by the Orb of Frost, and it was higher, but I think that could be just because of that's when people died. Like more people died before it finished. So let me change this zoom a little bit. Yeah, that's what happened. We had like most of the raid die right before that. Alright, so let's adjust that. So 906 to, let's say, like 9. is all this extra damage? See, like, people took a lot of extra damage here, but that's, like, really just the, like, the ice fall that they weren't supposed to get hit by anyway. So I guess it's really not that important to, like, have the cooldown up for both of those. Because, yeah, the Orb of Frost, like, when looking at the actual damage I took from it, like, myself, it was, like, 5k. We had cooldowns up, but, I mean, it's nothing. Yeah, when you compare it to, like, the Siege Breaker, like, it's basically not even visible. Um, I want to see, like, when the Orb of Frost detonates, but it's gotta be, yeah, like, right here, 912, I think. There's actually an easy way to check. We'll just click Orb of Frost, make it the filter, make it events, look the lights. Alright, so I guess there's a ticket 914. But yeah, it's like nothing. It's 5k. So basically pointless. Let's look at stats. It's right when I'm hitting 15 stacks is when I died. I think these are the people that got hit by the ice fall. So yeah, like, damage-wise, or stack-wise, I mean, we can, you know, go a bit longer. Be exact, let's see. Alright, if I get 14 stacks here, so 1 stack every 10 seconds, plus Howling Storm, Chilling Touch. That's what I can actually look at. I took a clip of those two pulls, so I can see there. So we're actually, I mean, obviously we actually lost like most of the people there to the icefall, but I think that's pretty much the point where we need to start like chaining cooldowns. Um, I'll look through before this. I think most people are going to be pretty stable. Um, Up until that, basically around when we're starting to get to like 10 stacks. Just looking at raid health right now. Let's see what cooldowns we had go out here. We have Trank right there. Holy Avenger, Healing Tide, Tree. An Aura Mastery. See, the Aura Mastery I think should have actually been a little bit later, and that would have been nice there, but it fell off right then. And then like a few seconds later it hits, and like where that actually went off, Zerhas was gripped a little bit too early. You can see like the missile, like the impact location should be like back here, but because of like being gripped partially through, it ends up hitting like here. So yeah, we took probably like 20k each or something like that more than we should have there. And because I was on this side, for like being the edge of the orb, I took even more. Like I should have been still away from it and then gotten into the orb after. Yeah, we have time to like handle the whole siege breaker and then actually start getting into the Orb of Frost after that. But yeah, health, like raid health is definitely fine until like that first Gathering Storm is when it starts to get a little bit dicey. When did that storm start? Starts at 8:35. Wrong kill. Okay. Yeah, up until that point, from when we transitioned up until the Gathering Storm, I would have lived with 0 healing. It's 269k damage total. I think I have like 280, yeah, 283 in raid. So yeah, healers should be fine. Like, can basically keep that in mind. Like, they can basically DPS until the first storm, and obviously people would need to be topped up until after that. But most of the healing done before that storm is just gonna be like overhealing, or um, yeah, obviously we definitely don't need any cooldowns before that. Yeah, it looks like I'd say average is like 300k, excluding tanks. Broadside people obviously taking a bit more, because that gives you like a minor dot during it. Getting hit by Ice Shard, so that shouldn't be there. Sacks an extra 30k, 29k, so yeah. Yeah, so 300k is about right. 300k per person for that first like 30-ish seconds or so, 35 seconds. That's very, very minimal healing. Let's look at how much healing was done. Alright, so we only needed 125k healing during that time. And we had 211 raw healing. So yeah, like if we would have just had basically like Naz and Bunton's healing going out during that part, then like maybe like one other healer, like the other 3 could have been DPSing, or 2.5 could have been DPSing for like that whole first part. So like obviously Uniques could have been DPSing the entire time during that. At the very least, just having Uniques DPSing that whole time would have been fine. Yeah. Alright, so last thing I'm gonna go over real quick, Xerxes. Let's see what Xerxes is wearing. Look at here, actually. Yeah, that'll work. Second. I'll just have you use the same link from before. I'll just message you real quick. There you go. You can just update that. What's this? Oh, meanwhile, here's a Bunton question. On Jaina, Tricky and I think that Avalanche is alphabetically assigned purple first, then circle. Fricky seems to think he is usually circle, and I feel like I usually get circle thoughts. Alright, I want to see who we had in our raid. Bunton is asking. So in our raid, Aubrey could be before me. And that's it. So the only time I should get diamond then is if it's tank, Aubrey, and bitters. Let's look real quick. I didn't get avalanche that full. Alright, so here I have avalanche. Alright, and I have diamond. So I just need to see who else has avalanche during this. Because if it's alphabetical, if it's star, circle, diamond, star is always a tank, so that one's clear. Circle should be someone alphabetically before BIT, which the only possibility is Aubrey, who is not a tank. Yeah, let's just look and see. Is Bunton. So yeah, I would say that technically is not accurate. Or yeah. I guess let's look at some more avalanches. Alright, here Aubrey got circle. Again, Aubrey's circle is a healer via diamond. Here, Bunton circle, Bitter's diamond. See, Gzak and Jang both ranged, and the alphabetical thing would be switched. So yeah, just from this one alone, that like basically tell you that there isn't a set pattern for it between circle and diamond. Here's 2 melee. Fricky got circle. Yeah, it's got diamond. So even those two would be switched if it was supposed to be the other way. So yeah, I don't think there's a set pattern to it. Alright, it's a range, DPS, and a melee. So the range diamond, melee circle here. Range diamond, melee circle there. Healer circle, range diamond. Here, ranged circle, melee diamond. So yeah, even that doesn't work. I was trying to see if maybe it prioritized range DPS as diamond and melee or healers as circle when possible, but it doesn't do that either. But yeah, I don't think there's any predictable pattern for whether you're going to get circle or diamond. I mean, it could be done. It could be made to be done that way, but it'd be a very complicated thing to do that. Like, back in Mythic Archimon, they had very complicated weak auras for assigning, like, which of the 4 things you were going to soak in, like, the last phase. Like, front left, front right, rear left, rear right. To, like, try and get melee soaking the front left ones, and then, like, depending on, like, when your debuff is going to expire and all that sort of stuff. So it definitely can be done, but not through the, it's not done like that defaultly through big wigs or DVM. So yeah, Zeros, this looks like your new one, I believe. Other slots real quick before I finish looking at Azurite. Yeah, it should still be better. Alright, let's get rid of this. One, still a little bit more than one less. Alright, Alright, I'll drop the scope for now. Might end up switching back to that, but I want the enchants though. guess I'll start off with this. But I'm gonna have to run basically whole second sim of this and just add in, basically switch everything to crit. Um, just so just so I can see something to compare it to, like, because otherwise I'm gonna run into an issue of like the iteration limit. It's gonna be insane if I tried to do it all in one sim. So basically I'm running all the items like this as mastery build, and then I'm gonna run it all again as crit, and just look that way to see like what's the highest DPS overall, and then try and merge those two if I need to with anything. Meanwhile,
Something has spooked one of the Brutusos, sending it into a panic. Oh, this
Do you
chaos
know
is
who
the
I
last
am?
thing the city needs. Help the merchants by rescuing the cargo before you get stomped on.
I pray we chose our allies well.
Oh, do I have a deal for you?
okay. So currently equipped is pretty significantly the highest. 0.4%. Which I didn't expect anything to change like this. But now I need to see if, basically, when I rerun this sim with crit, basically switching everything between from crit back to mastery, to see if it suggests anything else differently. Let's see.
Flourish.
I don't think anything's gonna end up beating it though. Not back enough. Alright, so wait, this was simming everything with mastery. I'm going to switch it to crit. I need to drop one thing. What's the worst here? Like, just with dire consequences? Bad choice? Has potential, I guess. And these two are going to be so close. I guess I'll just skip it. just to see the difference, I guess, between Deadly Navigation and Crow's Nest. They're going to be very, very similar, though. Oh yeah, we did. I forgot we did mention that. Since this does have Treacherous Covenant, I can. If you dropped both Treacherous Covenant, see what like your next closest build would be. But like, if you saw when I was looking at like Zia's health, like he was above 50%, or I guess not Zia, but like the other shaman on their pull. Like 50% is fine. Like I think Treacherous Covenant, like the buff uptime is going to be high enough. Let's look and see how often
Wind rush.
the debuff went up though for people of having like less than 10% health. Yeah, even on this pull, it's like basically non-existent. It was up for 2 seconds. Yeah, 2 seconds. So like I think overall, like looking at people's health in the last phase, the 2 seconds that you're going to have the debuff of taking the extra damage versus I guess let's look at Jang's health. Last phase started at like 8 minutes, just before 8 minutes. He was above 50% though, like vast majority of that time. Up until basically the very end, like the last 2 seconds before he died, was right when the negative effect went in. But the 50% thing, he had it until, you know, the last like, you know, 15, like, it was like 15 seconds of the fight that he didn't have it. Yeah, I think it probably is worth using. Yeah, because he never even, like, the whole first half of the fight, it never drops off of him. Let's look at Taz. Yeah, his health was even higher. Like, he only dropped, like, the 50% mark, like, one time there, basically. And then, obviously, at the very end, there's a couple places. It's like 2 points where he dipped down. Well, alright. 1 point where he dipped down where it would have dropped off before he actually died. Like, here it would have fallen off. Or not fallen off, but here it would have triggered like the negative effect. But it looks like you will have the buff, like the positive buff, long enough in the last phase to make it worth using. And considering like the damage on Jaina in general, like either you're going to spike low and die to something like Siegebreaker, or you're going to tick from Chilling Touch and die from that overall. But like if you're at 10% health and if you're at 10% health on Jaina, a Chilling Touch stack is going to kill you basically. Like if you're low enough to be at 10%, taking one more tick is going to kill you. It doesn't matter if you have the, you know, Treacherous Covenant active or not at that point. Who else had that thing next? See, he loses the buff a couple more times, but he had it even longer in the last phase. Yeah, he only lost it for basically the last 5 seconds before he died, which is, I believe he got hit by Icefall, which is why it dropped there. Well, triple treacherous is fine. Triple treacherous is the same as one treacherous, so it doesn't matter. There's no more negative effect of having, after you have the first one, like, you have the negative effect. It doesn't matter if you have 2 or 3 after that. You just get the bonus, the positive bonus that stacks higher. If you could do 4, sure, go for it. I wouldn't say, this is necessarily the best advice for all fights, because there are other fights where I don't think that's the case. But looking at actual logs on Jaina, it seems like it should be fine. Here, a couple people dropped lower a few times. Again, that wasn't a kill either. Oh, yeah. Okay. $5.17. Alright, Crow's Nest is simming better than Deadly Navigation in the last phase. And actually, there is a difference. Probably because with the down... Actually, it does make sense, though, because, like, Crow's Nest is like a proc, right? And after you kill, like, that second element, or, like, the split elementals, you're gonna have some downtime before, like, initiating on Jaina again, which is... You'll be more likely to have a proc starting on Jaina there, and then to get another proc sometime before the end. Whereas, like, with the building up of the stacks, you might build up enough stacks with the navigation to get, like, a proc, and then it'll start building up to a second one, but you might not get a second full proc. So that's probably why that's a difference. But it looks like the one thing it does suggest is Unstable Flames, instead of, what did you have, Heed My Call. It's different here. The other option instead of Haze of Rage is Dire Consequences. Shows up as being pretty close as well, but still, the Haze is better overall. And overall for the fight, Haze will definitely be better as well. So yeah, I think probably that would be the only change that I would do, is the Unstable Flames. Which Unstable Flames in general should be like the second, like, Overwhelming Power is probably still gonna always be best. But I'm not sure actually what sims better between Overwhelming Power and Unstable Flames, like if they're both on the same piece. If you're doing the Dance of Death build and stack and crit, probably really close. Otherwise, normally Overwhelming Power is just by far the best. But yeah, in particular, Gut Ripper is also actually really good for this Jaina Execute phase, so that's fine having on your chest. in here. Just switching that. If anything else, I guess we'll add the other trinket in. Although I'm sure you would be very not excited to go back to that trinket, but let's just see how it sims for this 130 window.
Name your target. We will finish.
Go! Go!
I've been expecting you.
You wish to speak?
The eternal sun.
Oh, I actually use a combination of two different add-ons for my mission thing. I use what is it? Garrison Mission Manager and Champion Commander. I always forget this one because it's like its name has changed like with each different table type basically over like the past like 3 expansions or whatever. Yeah, it's very unnecessary to like min-max alts missions, but I don't know. They're almost 50, so I figure whatever. Yeah, my warrior's 49 and a half, basically. But yeah, you can like click them to like lock them in and then like adjust. Alright, so like I have kind of two different things going on. Like over here is like the Garrison Michigan manager like thing, which I can just click it and it'll like automatically put in a team at that percent. Let's see if there's anything that. Alright, yeah, I don't have anyone out currently. I don't think. No, alright. But you can like, if you look at like the numbers on the left, like if I lock in Arcanus over here, alright, so it's 200%. Alright, if I lock in like Hobart over here, and it wants me to use Senjin, but like if I had like wanted to use Senjin on, or sorry, Taijin, like on this mission, then it like lowers what the max is gonna be on this mission. So I just kind of use that to make the missions that I want to go well, I guess. I don't know. If that makes sense.
My knives are ready.
Alright, this is done. Ah. Yeah, bad news. Bad news bears. No. I mean, it's actually a small amount because you're comparing it to actually to the top gear, and it's actually only this difference. It's 37 DPS, and that's only for the last phase, and that's assuming you are pressing this perfectly, so it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, I honestly, I would use Heartlands over it anyway, myself. Yeah, it's the 27 522 versus 27 559. Yeah. I mean, it does, to be honest, it does take away focus from, like, other abilities. Like, even if you, I mean, are trying to watch, you know, to get, like, an exact, you know, like a 0.5 second, like, frenzy refresh or something, like, if that happens to coincide with when you need to be watching, like, to press your trinket, you know, maybe you'll miss the refresh or something like that, or maybe you'll be a second, you know, late on refreshing gear or on using the trinket and stuff. So again, they're close enough that I wouldn't really worry about it. Oh, and actually, technically, yeah, it's you're right. It's 27,512 to replace the Gigavolt. Surprisingly, yeah, the Vigor is better than even the Azarok trinket by 10 DPS. That's just switching those two trinkets right there, keeping everything else the same. But, I mean, again, this is a very specific use of just looking at, like, this last a minute and 30 without Lust. Overall for the fight, I wouldn't necessarily say that's true. Alright, but I think that is going to be it for tonight. I think I'm going to actually go get some food and eat now. Yeah, no problem. Alright, so thanks everyone for stopping by and watching. Again, if you have any questions, exclamation point, submit, just type that in chat. Link will pop up, whether I'm streaming or not, you can type that and it'll pull up the link for you. And yeah, ask a question there, or again, you can always ask in stream or something like that, and I'll get to it when I can, or I will get to it on my next stream. I will be streaming our, hopefully, Jaina kill on Tuesday. And if not, then whatever we have for raid on Wednesday as well, and then, I don't know, maybe I'll actually be able to stream some Classic again, but I don't know. That depends if I have access to my Classic account. Um, Sometimes it is accidentally, I guess not accidentally, but sometimes I can't quite log into it for some reasons that Selexia has nothing to do with. But,
Dude, I just pressed dead mine.
did you really? Oh my god. Oh god, Rue. If Rue gets the mount, I'm quitting the game. That's it. That's all. Yeah, I got up to 10, but that's all I've done on it so far. Yeah, yeah. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Yeah. Again, streams always. This stream on Mondays, raid on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then who knows, Mythic Plus or Classic or I don't know what else on the other nights. So follow if you can, subscribe if you'd like to, and otherwise, have a good night. Thank you.